Hello and welcome back, you guys, to Heartbaked. We are still on the Carver route, screwing up all the way through, just like we did on the Benjamin route. And we are now on to Chapter 5, or Chapter 4 of the Carver route. So, we're just gonna hop right back in, try to go and make this date a huge success, and just get through this as best we can. Let's go. I woke up groggily, wiping the sleep from my eyes. For a few moments, I let myself just lay in bed, breathing deeply and staring up at the ceiling. I couldn't help but feel like I was forgetting something. Oh yeah, I scored a date with Carver. A date with Carver. I couldn't believe it. I knew it was for a greater purpose. It would all be worth it in the end. Before we became rivals, and before Carver got all obnoxious when we were training to become pastry chefs, I still didn't like him. I guess that wasn't entirely true. But that was then, and this was now. I had to go. No time to lie in bed. I've got to do my best to honor the pastry god by making the best cake this village has ever tasted. Now that I've got him in my frying pan, how do I make sure he stays there? I carefully iced the last cupcake, setting the piping bag down, and letting out a sigh. The whole plan would go to waste if he didn't actually enjoy the date, and that was the deal. I have sunk so low. No, Bee, there is no depths you cannot sink to. This is for the cake, for the pastry god, in sweet, sweet victory. Bay, things are getting kinda crowded in there. Bay. Radley popped his head into the kitchen and I looked over, quickly lifting up the tray. Right, coming. Today was actually busy. It made me smile to see all the happy faces leaving with my pastries, but I need time to think of a plan for breadstick's sake. I thought of a light sigh, resigning myself to focusing on chips and customer satisfaction. Hey, Bay. Since I can't do much in here with all the people walking around, I'm gonna clean up in the kitchen. A bit. Okay, Rat. Hey, wait a minute. I yanked at his arm, jerking him out of the doorway. What? Bay? You know you're not allowed to clean in there. Do you want a repeat of last time? Bay, it's so dusty in there. I shook my head, fists digging into my hips. No. Radley pouted at me, crossing his arms. Okay. He shifted his feet a little, giving me one last pout before moving to put the freshly iced cupcakes on the sample table like a good boy. Good boy. I nodded my head, folding my arms across my chest. I heard the shop door open and close and looked over with a smile. Hello, welcome to... It was that pointy-nosed elf. I let out a long sigh, pushing my bangs out of my eyes. Really? Did he not get the message the first time? Look, sir, we don't have those cookies. You have to go to Carver's. I could barely bring myself to form the words. Oh shoot, what was his voice? Oh no. Actually, I'm here for your chocolate cream cheesecake. Cheese cupcakes. Chocolate cream cheese cupcakes. That was actually a recipe I made. I smiled, the irritation from before instantly wiping away. Oh, well, sorry about that. I'll get a box for you right away. I quickly hurried back to the kitchen, getting a special box and room in to put the cupcakes in. Well, it looked like Carver's special cookies weren't as so special after all. Pointy's coming to try some real pastries. Who you talking to, Bay? I need to, change the, way my mouth works when I talk like Radley, and it's terrible, because every time I have to do it, I'm like, oh, right. Radley talks like that. Gah! Radley, don't sneak up on me like that. You walked right by me. I was just getting some more cups for the coffee. Oh. Well, say something next time. Radley's laughter followed me out of the kitchen, and after discerning how many cupcakes Pointy wanted, I boxed them up and handed them over. Thank you. No problem. I hope you enjoy. He gave me a smile as he paid, adjusting his glasses and heading out of the door. Today was already looking up. That was good, since it was going to crash and burn as soon as closing time hit. A date with Carver.
What was that, Bea?
What? Radley, I thought I told you to cut that out.
I thought you were talking to me.
I was talking to myself.
Yeah, I should have known.
What's that supposed to mean?
Nothing. Continue your conversation.
Radley snickered as he walked over to replace the cups of coffee on the sample table, and I followed him with a glare. It's totally normal to talk to yourself, I mumbled under my breath, going back into the kitchen to see if the cookies baking had finished already. Am I finished yet? I am so not crazy. Radley's the crazy one. The day passed by too quickly and too slow all at once. By the time I remembered that I was supposed to be closing early, I barely had any time to get ready for my date. As I flipped the sign, Radley looked at me curiously, just finishing mopping the floor.
Closing early again?
I don't have time to deal with his questions right now. Yes, I'm busy. You can go home. I'll see you tomorrow. Radley looked like he was going to say something else, but I was already heading back towards my house. I needed to change and shower. How can I expect to win Carver's heart covered in icing and sugar? Don't forget to lock up.
Okay.
I looked back at myself in the mirror, quickly tying off my other braid and smiling. There, adorable. No pancake would be able to resist you, Bee. I'd found a green skirt with lace trimming the bottom that would have gone perfect with those heels, but, well, it still looked cute by itself. I put on some lip gloss, rubbing my lips together. Ew. I couldn't help the way my mind turned to kissing Carver. My stomach practically churning. For the cake, Bee. I looked at the clock, taking in a breath. It was about time. I headed back down to the shop, turning off the lights as I went. The cake is mine. A knock at the door cut off my gleeful song, and I walked over, looking at the clock again. Carver? You're on time.
I don't make it a habit of being late to my appointments.
Appointment, huh? I breathed in deeply, curbing my anger and forcing a smile. Before I could say anything, though, I noticed Carver was looking me over, eyebrows raised. I blinked, looking down at myself. Biscuits! Did I remember to shave? Okay, all good. What is it?
You look different.
I was caught off guard for a second before I rolled my eyes, folding my arms across my chest. And you look exactly the same. Aren't you supposed to, dress up for dates? You are, right? Suddenly, I felt a bit self-conscious. Pastry God, I really hoped I hadn't made a fool of myself already. We weren't even out the door.
You're the one who wanted to go on a date with me, remember?
He spat out the word like it physically hurt him. Good to know that we're both so enthusiastic about this. Well, never mind, let's just go. He grunted in agreement, and steeling myself, I walked out into the town square. We started walking, and I curled my fingers into my skirt, already feeling a little nervous. It was so weird to just be walking next to Carver, not arguing or insulting each other. I looked over to him, seeing a rather bored look on his face. Better than that stupid grin that just screamed, I think I'm better than everyone else.
Stop staring at me.
Well, I wasn't staring. He glared, and I glared, and then walked around, realizing we were standing back in front of my shop. We'd walked in a complete circle. Okay, where are we going?
I don't know. This was your idiotic idea.
I've been following you.
I should have known. If you can't even handle a task like baking properly, you can't possibly be expected to know how to do simple things like pick out a destination.
Pastry God, forgive me, for I was about to sin. I was going to rip the little head off this pancake body and eat it with syrup. I gritted my teeth, resisting the urge to throw an insult back at him. This was just impossible. I was crazy to think I could even handle being in the same space as this guy for more than 10 seconds without wanting to strangle him. How could I be expected to date him? Fake or otherwise?
We could.
I was snapped out of my thoughts when Carver started talking again, and I frowned.
I just came up with a new recipe for strawberry shortcake. We could try making it together.
I blinked, staring down at the magenta-haired grease stain that was surprise on my face.
Or something. Whatever.
You want to bake? No matter what way you look at it, it didn't really sound like a date. I may not have been the most qualified to decide that, but I'm pretty sure that's not a real date. Carver glared at me.
Do you have any better ideas?
I could give up and go home. I mumbled this to myself and Carver squinted at me.
What?
Nothing. It didn't sound like a horrible suggestion. We were both pastry chefs after all, so it sort of made sense. And I do like baking. Of all the things I could do with Carver, baking seemed like it would be the least irritating. Resigning myself to sticking with my plan, I gave a small nod.
Fine, we'll use my kitchen.
I gave another nod and followed the shorter elf back to his shop. As we were walking up, I noticed the door open and I paused in my step. For a second, I was convinced someone had broken into Carver's bakery, but the person who walked out turned out to be familiar. Oh, great. Wait, what was he doing here? Benjamin looked at me, then at Carver, nodding his head.
I finished cleaning up for the day.
Did you remember to keep the sheep outside?
Yes. Although I still don't understand why that was necessary. They did seem to enjoy walking around the fountain, though.
Carver rolled his eyes.
Just go home.
See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Benjamin looked over at me, and I still hadn't quite comprehended what was going on.
Be you. Thank you again for the job tip.
Sure.
With a steady income, now I can finally build a bigger pen for Bernard and Bethany. Perhaps even expand my home.
Yeah. Benjamin nodded at the both of us, and then he and his sheep were gone. I looked over at Carver, who was already stepping inside his bakery. I followed him in, still a little dumbfounded. I can't believe you actually hired him. That guy was weird. The guy was weird. And filthy. Carver waved a hand, heading back to the kitchen.
Work is work. I just have to remind him to wash his feet before he comes in.
I let out a groan, remembering my first meeting with the eccentric shepherd. Carver disappeared through the doorway, and I followed, a little hesitantly. It was the one thing to be alone with him outside. It felt different to be alone like this. When I stepped into the room, Carver was looking through a neatly filed collection of note cards. He took one out and set it on the counter, nodding.
You read through that, and I'll get the ingredients ready.
Okay. I walked over, lifting the card and letting my eyes drag over the recipe. My gaze strayed to the note cards, wondering if all of those were Carver's original recipes. I'm usually focused on my grandmother's. I have a few of my own, but not nearly that many. The silence started to get to me, so I looked over at Carver, seeing him setting out the bowl and sugar. So, what were you doing sleeping outside?
What?
The other day, I found you sleeping in the forest.
I wasn't sleeping. Though I could see how someone as manic as you could mistake meditation for sleeping.
Yeah, I am the manic one. Answer the question, bubblegum head.
Like I said, I was meditating. That's where I come up with my best recipes.
Oh. I hadn't actually thought he was serious. I blinked in surprise, rubbing the back of my head. Carver continued gathering all the ingredients, and I drummed my fingers against the countertop. You know, you should meditate more often. I think that's the quietest I've ever seen you. You gotta give those vocal cords a break every now and then. And you know everyone's ears. Carver scoffed.
You'd like that, wouldn't you? Unfortunately for you, whenever we're around each other, I'm always full of things to say. And it'd be a shame to deprive you of my superior insight.
That sounded like Carver. But before that, he almost looked like he was... I was a bit caught off guard, and before I could think of something else to say, he was shoving a couple eggs in my direction. I got the hint and started cracking. Carver began measuring out the sugar, and I watched his hands move, picking up the next ingredient once the eggs were done. For a pancake, he's got deft fingers. All the other pancakes must be so impressed. I let out a giggle, and Carver raised an eyebrow at me. I cleared my throat. So those black tea cookies seem to be popular. He let out a scoff.
Of course they are. Everything I bake is delicious.
And if that were true, he'd get more customers if he weren't so obnoxious. Well, my shop was packed today. A customer even requested my limited edition original recipe cupcakes. I bragged, and Carver looked over at me.
Well, it looks like you're finally stepping it up to my level.
You couldn't reach my level with 2 ladders. Once all the ingredients were in the bowl, Carver started whisking. I looked over the recipe card again, leaning against the counter. When I looked back, Carver wiped his cheek with the back of his hand, going back to whisking soon after. It was impossible not to notice the swipe of batter he'd left behind on his face, and I couldn't stop the grin that came over my lips. He paused a second before wiping his chin this time, and I put a hand over my mouth. He chose that moment to glance at me.
What?
Laugh at him? Lick it off? Tease him? I'm not gonna lick it off of him. That would be too far. Too far, guys. I can't do that. But I will tease him. Teasing is fun. Teasing is enjoyable. Laughing at him could come off as rude. Licking it off, I think, is too far for a first date. Excuse me. So we're gonna tease him. Oh, Carver, I think you got a little something on your face.
What? Where?
I pointed to his cheek and he swiped at it, getting even more batter on himself. Need some help? Your arms are pretty short, so if you can't reach... I giggled and he gave me a glare, setting the bowl down and stomping off, presumably to go check a mirror.
Very funny.
Why, thank you. I pride myself on my mastery of comedy.
Stop me if I'm laughing too hard.
I laughed some more and he rolled his eyes, elbowing me and going back to his whisking. Oh, he was so adorable. By the time we finally got the cake in the oven, the sun was setting. When everything was back in its proper place and the cake was done, Carver cut me a piece to take home. Sort of thought I'd be getting half, but nope, don't know why I thought that.
You should go home.
I rolled my eyes. What a catch I found.
This was not as awful as I thought it'd be.
I guess that's the best I could hope for. And it's kind of what I want to say, too. Of course. I pressed a hand to my chest. It was a date with me. Carver scoffed. I wet my lips, taking in a breath. Okay, now in for the kill. So. Do you want to go on another date or not?
I guess you win this bet. Tomorrow, then.
I mean, I knew you would.
Whatever.
Carver disappeared inside his shop and slammed the door. I stared at it for a few seconds before smiling to myself, walking back home with a bounce in my step. Another date with Carver tomorrow. Everything's going according to plan. I smiled to myself, laughing at the memory of Carver's batter-stained face. Oh no, I'm so gonna fail. We're nowhere close to halfway. And I'm pretty sure you have to be above half in order to, at least get, on the track to the good ending. And we only have 3 chapters, and that is not enough chapters unless I get perfect on every one of them to even get me at half. So, I'm definitely gonna have to play this over. I'm sorry. I'm such a terrible person at this. And, that answer only gave me, the half. So I don't know the half the points rather than 0 or 100. Just 50 points. So I don't know which one would have been the better answer, because I thought teasing him was a good option. Licking it off, seriously seems like it would be going too far. But laughing at him sounds mean. I don't know. Whatever. I'm not Ginger. I'm not Carver either. Just me. I don't know the answer to these things. There's a reason I'm single. I'm playing games to romance the boys. Alright, so that'll be the end of this episode. You guys know the drill. Have a great weekend, have a good week, and good night.